Welcome to this AddVANCEO deep dive. If you're listening to this, you're probably someone who, well, you want to cut through all the corporate jargon.
Oh, absolutely. The endless buzzwords.
Yeah, exactly. You want real, actionable insights. And today's mission is exactly that. We're exploring a framework based on Patrick Lencioni's work, which is presented in our sources by Eric Brown. It's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
It's such a powerful framework. I mean, it really shifts how you look at the whole concept of teamwork.
It really does. And the big premise here, the core quote from the source that just hits you right away, is that teamwork remains the one sustainable competitive advantage that has been largely untapped.
Right, untapped. Because most companies are completely missing the mark on how to actually build it.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we're bypassing all that generic team-building fluff today.
Yeah.
We are deconstructing the real and honestly the really uncomfortable psychological hurdles that derail performance.
Yeah, and to give some context here, these dysfunctions, they aren't just, random isolated issues. They actually form a pyramid.
Like a hierarchy.
Exactly. Each layer of dysfunction builds directly on the failures of the layer right below it. So if the bottom layer is broken, the whole thing falls apart.
Which brings us to level 1. The absolute foundation of this pyramid, which is the absence of trust.
And we have to be specific here.
Right, because it's not just trusting someone to do their job or finish a spreadsheet. It's specifically about vulnerability-based trust.
Yes, that's the key distinction. Vulnerability-based trust is, well, it's what it looks like in practice. It's team members being totally comfortable saying things like, I was wrong, or I made a massive mistake, or, I'm just in over my head and I need your help.
Wow. Yeah, saying I need your help in a high-stakes corporate environment is, it's terrifying for a lot of people.
It really is. Because human nature fights against it. We want to protect ourselves, but the source gives this really specific warning about the threat here.
Oh, the guy in the meeting.
Yeah. It says a single person who refuses to be vulnerable can completely destroy a team's trust. Like, picture the person who just talks endlessly in meetings, right?
We all know that phrase.
Right. And they just aggressively defend their position until someone finally gives up and changes the subject. That single behavior shuts down the entire decision-making process.
It's like trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation of quicksand. If even one pillar is refusing to bear the weight of vulnerability, the whole structure is just totally unstable.
That is a perfect way to put it. The whole thing sinks.
So how do we fix it? Because the
Yeah.
sources have some actionable strategies for this, right?
They do, and one of them is the personal histories exercise, which sounds simple, but it's incredibly effective to accelerate trust.
How does that work?
Teams literally just go around the table and answer 3 specific questions. Where they grew up, their sibling order, and this is the big one, their most difficult or important childhood challenge.
Oh, wow. That gets personal fast.
It does, and what's fascinating here is how quickly sharing these simple childhood challenges can just break down massive corporate egos. You suddenly see the aggressive VP as a human being who had to overcome something really tough as a kid.
Right. It totally humanizes them. And the sources also mention using behavioral profiles, right? Like Myers-Briggs or DISC.
Yeah, exactly. It gives the team a shared language to understand each other's natural styles without it feeling like a personal attack.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
Because that trust, that vulnerability, is actually the prerequisite for level 2. The fire, which is the fear of conflict.
Yes, because if you don't have trust, you absolutely cannot have healthy conflict. It's impossible.
You just end up with what the source calls artificial harmony.
Artificial harmony is so toxic.
It really is. It's when teams avoid that passionate, unfiltered ideological debate that you actually need to solve hard problems. Everyone just smiles and nods.
Right, they pretend everything is fine. And the place you see this most obviously is in meetings.
Oh, the meeting dilemma. People constantly complain about this. They say there are too many meetings or meetings just don't matter.
But the insight here from the source material corrects that completely. It's not that there are too many meetings, it's that they are bad meetings.
Because they lack real debate.
Exactly. A good meeting should have tension. The first 10 minutes of a meeting should actually be the best part, where you just put the hardest issue right on the table.
So as a leader, you have to force that.
Yeah, leaders have to literally mine for conflict. They have to actively look for those buried, avoided topics and just drag them out into the light.
Which sounds super uncomfortable.
It is. But the source references this depth-frequency conflict model. Basically, conflict shouldn't just be shallow bickering about office supplies. It needs to be substantive and frequent.
Substantive and frequent. Got it. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because you can have all that great conflict, but it connects directly to level 3, the pivot, which is a lack of commitment.
Right, because without that unfiltered debate, you get a lack of commitment. They are directly linked.
So how does commitment actually work in this framework?
Well, commitment requires two things: clarity and buy-in. And the golden rule here is what they call the weigh-in factor.
The weigh-in factor.
Yeah. If people do not weigh in, like actually debate their ideas during a meeting, they will not actively buy into the final decision, period.
Oh, man. Think about the classic after-the-fact meeting by the water cooler.
Yes, the meeting after the meeting.
None of the one where someone says, can you believe he said that? Or, yeah, I'm not 100% behind this new strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the ultimate symptom of artificial harmony bleeding right into a lack of commitment.
Exactly. They didn't weigh in, so they aren't buying in. But there's a massive misconception here that we need to clear up. Buy-in does not require consensus.
Wait, really? Because a lot of managers spend weeks trying to get consensus.
And it paralyzes the team. Great teams learn to adopt a disagree and commit mentality. You argue passionately, but once the decision is made, everyone commits fully, even if you initially disagreed.
That requires so much discipline.
It does, which is why the actionable strategy here is so important. At the end of every meeting, take the last 5 minutes, go to the whiteboard and ask, what exactly have we agreed upon today?
Just to force that clarity.
Yes. Everyone has to record those commitments and distribute them within 24 hours. You leave no room for ambiguity.
Which is brilliant, because ambiguity gives people an out. If things are vague, you run right into level 4, the friction, which is the avoidance of accountability.
Right. If there's no clear public commitment, team members have a built-in excuse to avoid holding each other accountable.
And holding people accountable is deeply uncomfortable. Let's be honest, people naturally just want to avoid interpersonal discomfort.
Of course they do. Nobody wants to be the bad guy.
But the surprising truth here, and I found this counterintuitive when I read the source, is that leaders usually have the hardest time holding people accountable.
It's true. Leaders struggle with it the most. But the text reveals that peer-to-peer accountability is actually the most powerful kind.
Over the boss.
By far. Peer pressure and the fear of letting down a colleague who's sitting right next to you, that motivates a team player way more than the fear of some punishment from the boss.
So what does this all mean for the leader then?
It means the leader has to set the tone. For a culture of accountability to thrive, the leader has to go first and model the willingness to confront difficult issues.
And the sources detail an exercise for this, right? The feedback form.
Oh, the feedback form is intense.
Break that down for us. What does it look like?
Okay, so every member of the team identifies one behavioral quality that contributes to the team and one that detracts from the team. For every single other member.
For everyone? Oh, wow.
Yeah. And crucially, the leader goes first. The leader takes all the negative feedback from the entire team, sits there, and is just asked, any surprises?
That is brutal.
It is. But the leader has to take it gracefully. They have to model that it's okay to be critiqued. If they get defensive, the whole exercise is ruined.
Right, because if the leader can't handle it, no one else will.
Exactly.
So once everyone is finally holding each other accountable, we move to level 5, the apex.
Yeah.
Because what exactly are they accountable to?
And that is the inattention to results.
Right, because human nature causes people to drift. If there's no accountability to a specific result, individuals just start prioritizing their own status, right? Or their personal career growth, or just their own department's budget.
Yeah, they lose sight of the collective success of the team.
It's just like a sports team. Imagine a basketball player who is only trying to pad their own personal stats. Like, they just want to score 30 points to get a contract, completely ignoring whether the actual team wins or loses the game.
That happens in business every single day. People want their own little victories, even if the company is failing.
So how do you fix that? How do you keep the attention on the collective results?
The team has to establish a highly visible scoreboard. It has to be tangible. And the rewards and recognition in the company must be based on team goals and collective success, not just individual milestones.
So no rewarding the guy who scored 30 points if the team lost.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the true measure of a great team is solely whether it accomplishes the results it publicly set out to achieve. Nothing else matters if you don't hit the collective goal.
Which really ties into how we view these things at AddVANCEO. We see these dysfunctions not as permanent flaws, but as hurdles. Hurdles that have to be cleared through conscious leadership.
Absolutely. Conscious leadership is the key. The leader has to be the first to be vulnerable. They have to demand debate, force clarity, confront the difficult stuff, and just keep everyone relentlessly focused on those collective outcomes.
And it's an ongoing process. You can't just do it once.
Hmm.
Doing regular health checks or those behavioral profiles we mentioned, like DIC or Myers-Briggs, it helps teams understand their natural style so they can avoid falling back into these dysfunctions.
Right. You have to constantly maintain that team health.
So, just to synthesize all of this for you listening, teamwork is not an accident.
Not at all.
It's a deliberate choice. It requires the courage to be vulnerable, the demand for unfiltered debate, the discipline to force clarity, the willingness to face some pretty serious interpersonal discomfort, and the selflessness to put the team scoreboard way above your own ego.
Which is a lot to ask of people. And this raises an important question.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Think about your own team for a second. What happens when your absolute top performer, the one driving all the sales or writing the best code, is the one who refuses to be vulnerable?
The one who won't commit to the team-building process.
Exactly. What if they are the one introducing all these dysfunctions into the pyramid? Does their individual talent actually outweigh the damage they are doing to the collective performance?
That is a terrifying thought for any manager to evaluate. Are you willing to lose your best individual player to save the actual team? Something for you to critically evaluate tomorrow when you walk into the office. Thank you so much for joining us on this AddVANCEO deep dive into the source material. We'll see you next time.